Howdy folks, Darren Rifonso here, and I'm talking about workers' comp, or labor and industries as we call it here in the state of Washington. And I'm talking about federal oversight versus state solutions for the injured workers of Washington State and of America. We were told by Bernie Sanders and Senator Patty Murray of Washington State 5 years ago in a letter to the Department of Labor that we needed some minimum federal oversight for the injured workers of America, and that Washington State was one of 33 states failing our injured workers. That being said, as an injured worker, I have been trying to get that minimum federal oversight on the table of somebody, our issue on the table for somebody to help us, but I have been run into roadblocks here in Washington State all the way as I've sought help from people who claim to be injured workers advocates, like my Democrats and my Berniecrats claim to be for injured workers, and Reform L&I is also doing a great job standing up for 400 injured farm workers here in the state of Washington who say they are being failed as well. But their state fix is to go through the courts, to have all of our sheep basically chase their tails and go through court battles to try and resolve the issue. They say they disagree with the federal oversight and tell me they disagree with it because they fear Republicans would never let us get the federal oversight. And then the Bernie Democrats over here, the Berniecrats have us chasing single-payer I-1600, single-payer 1600 that was done here in Washington State through an initiative that we lost on. Yet they told us they could not get on us about the needed minimum federal oversight for the same reason that they feared that the Republicans would never allow it to happen. Basically, what we have people doing is having the sheep or our poor people or our population get behind this poor people's movement and all this stuff and run around and chase our tails in circles for something that we may never get, especially single payer in the state of Washington, because to get it here in the state of Washington would require an income tax, and we never had one in the state of Washington, so that's almost not doable. Like they tell us the federal oversight is no doable because Republicans would never allow that to happen. So it's kind of frustrating that it seems that we have both of these groups that claim to be for injured workers who tell us they won't put the federal oversight that we need to resolve the harm that's done to our injured workers. Both of them have us chasing state fixes and Medicare for all over on this side, and this side we're chasing state fixes and court cases. And here's the kicker, all these people, both of these injured workers, so-called injured workers advocates in the state of Washington say we need a state fix and not a federal fix, and we say we can't get that federal fix because you got to fear Republicans. But yet Tyler Vege of the Washington State Bernicrats is telling me that I need to vote for Scott Stafne, their Republican candidate for AG of Washington. And then Reform L&I wants me to vote for their Republican candidate for governor. I can't remember the name now, but they have a Republican that they want me to vote for governor. So here I have these injured workers advocates in the state of Washington who tell me they can't do what Senator Sanders said we needed to be done 5 years ago, and that today the United States Congressional Research Service has gotten together in 2019, a nonpartisan group of people from the U.S. Congressional Research Service come out and told us the same thing Sanders said, that we need this federal oversight. Yet all these people who claim to be for injured workers in the state of Washington and fighting for poor people and all of our patients' rights seem to want to be putting the injured workers under the bus and leaving us behind, and then tell us we can't do what Sanders said, but can you please vote for our Republican candidate here? If people don't find that odd, I don't know what to say, because for me it's frustrating as an injured worker in the state of Washington whose father-in-law was harmed by this system, and I was harmed by this system, and my father when I was a child was harmed for this very system, that these same people will say that the state work comp systems are broken. Reform L&I will march with their signs and say Washington state work comp is broken, and that's awesome, that's great, and we need that. But when those signs don't say we need some minimum federal oversight, then we're not helping all the injured workers of America, or any of the 400 Latino injured workers here being failed. And when everybody has us chasing state fixes that go nowhere, it's pretty frustrating at this time. And I'm just going to leave it at that. People can decide for themselves what if this is not something that is peculiar to you, seems a little bit off base, because when I shared it with my mental health therapist today, she seemed to agree that something was a little bit off when somebody's telling you they can't do what Senator Sanders said to do and Senator Patty Murray said to do because you have to fear the Republicans won't never allow it to happen. Yet you turn around and you tell me to vote for your Republican for an AG and a Republican for governor. I have to ask why. Thank you. And if you're an injured worker in America today and you're not asking questions, then you're not doing your job as far as I'm concerned. We all need to stand up as Americans and fight for our rights and fight for justice when we know others people are being hurt and harmed. Thank you, and have a good day. And I hope this was simple enough for people to understand and comprehend what some injured workers are having to go through, not only with their work comp claims and the abuse that they've survived, but yet trying to get the oppressors to put the solution on the table, and the people who are supposed to help us put that solution on the table refuse to do so, and have done so now for 5 years. Thank you, and have a good day, and thanks for hearing me.